Hello, everybody. Well, here we are. The time has finally come to record the first of these Oscar prediction videos. I know you've all been looking forward to this for a while now, and so here it is. You're going to get one of these daily. And so the first one that I'm doing is going to be taking a look at the category of Best Supporting Actress. I thought this would be an easy one to get us started. There's still a lot of movies that I need to get caught up on, and so but not these. I've seen all of the films nominated in the main above the line categories, including this one. So, this category is interesting, and by interesting I mean actually kind of boring. Much like last year, there was an early frontrunner who we assumed would take it until that person decided to go to lead actress instead, and to be fair, I think Lily Gladstone has much more of an argument for campaigning in lead as opposed to Michelle Williams last year. But what's interesting is that when Michelle Williams moved, there was a lot of confusion about who would be winning, and that confusion lasted until the end, basically. Right up until the very end, we didn't know who would be winning. And this year, when we were like, we'll get to it, but we kind of just decided on a winner very early on, and the category I think that could have been a lot more interesting ended up having a pretty simple answer. But let's get into that. So, fifth most likely to win is Jodie Foster in Nyad. Now, Jodie Foster is the only person in this category that has previously been nominated for an Oscar. This is her fifth nomination. She has 2 wins for The Accused and The Silence of the Lambs, so obviously a very well-liked, well-respected actress who has not gotten a ton of super great roles recently, but this is one of the best that she's had in a while. And it is interesting because if you look at the amount of screen time that she has in this movie, then she's debatably a co-lead. But the fact that all her character does is support Annette Bening as Diana Nyad, then this category placement does make a lot of sense. And the performance is not bad. I think it's a very strong one. I do think the film could be better, but that's not really her fault. I think Foster is doing a good job with what she's handed, but she is a previous winner, and is there a real push to get Jodie Foster her 3rd Oscar? Possibly, if the movie were a little bit more well-liked, but it only got 2 nominations for Foster and Bening. And Bening has a stronger narrative, if anything, because she has not won an Oscar and she's considered overdue. But Foster, I just don't see it. I just don't think enough people are going to want to give her her 3rd Oscar for this movie. I don't really feel like the passion is there, and the performance, while good, is not really the sort of thing that needs to win. 4th most likely to win is Danielle Brooks in The Color Purple. So this is a little interesting because when this movie first came out, when the reviews first started, there was a lot of early buzz that she could be our winner, and that she could be the only person to actually challenge the frontrunner, who I'll get to in a minute here. And it is interesting because this movie was expected to do a heck of a lot better than just Danielle Brooks. The movie was supposed to get in for picture and lead actress and all of this other stuff, a costume, song, and it only got this 1 nomination. And I think once more people started to see the movie, it became clear that it was more of a disappointment, and that a lot of people just were not on board with the film. As someone who loves musicals, I was very let down by this film, and I think the 1985 Spielberg version is superior in just about every way. And so Danielle Brooks, while she's clearly talented, and she was nominated for a Tony for this role, so she's clearly very good, but I do think she's working within the limitations of the movie, and because the movie has these very jarring transitions between dialogue scenes and musical scenes, That makes it harder to take the emotional beats seriously. My big issue was the production value of the film, and the way that the musical scenes were directed made it feel more like an NBC Live special than a motion picture. And none of that is on Danielle Brooks necessarily, but I feel like there's only so much she can do within these limitations, and she can't truly make me feel for this character the way she would have on stage, or the way Oprah Winfrey did in the original film. I think if you're comparing these two performances, I'm so sorry, but she just can't compare to what Oprah did, and that movie was a lot better overall. So it's pretty clear to me that no one really likes the film all that much, and even though Danielle Brooks has some support, and obviously Oprah's going to be campaigning for her, which is the reason why I thought she might be able to win initially, it's just too bad. This movie has crashed and burned, and it's destined to be a future exceptions episode on This Had Oscar Buzz. So, sorry Danielle Brooks, but it's just not your year. Third most likely to win is Emily Blunt in Oppenheimer. So, this is interesting, because on the one hand, I'm very, very happy that I can finally say the words Academy Award nominee Emily Blunt. She has been overdue for an Oscar nomination for a very long time now. She's been incredible in things like The Devil Wears Prada, The Girl on the Train, Mary Poppins Returns. She's won the SAG for A Quiet Place. It felt like she was always close to an Oscar nomination and never quite got there. So she finally got one. However, there is a part of me that's like, really? This is the role that Emily Blunt finally gets an Oscar nomination for? Because Christopher Nolan, for all of his strengths as a filmmaker and as a writer, he's never been particularly good at writing female characters, and this character, if you're familiar with the podcast and the runner-up this character is the epitome of what if there was a wife. That's all that she is in the movie, and even though she gets a few moments to show what a strong actress she is, it's really nothing that special. And I feel bad, because Emily Blunt, very glad that she has this nomination, and it would be nice if it were a role where I could campaign her for a win, because she's been in the industry for a long time, and with the right role, maybe she could win something, but it's just, this part is just such... It's the most generic wife role imaginable. And the funny thing is, I'm recording this before the BAFTAs happen. And I think there's a very good possibility that the BAFTAs are going to give Emily Blunt the win. And even if they do, that doesn't change anything for me. I know that this movie is well loved, and I know that Emily Blunt is well loved, and sometimes that's all you need now that I'm thinking about it. Looking at Jamie Lee Curtis last year, they like her, they like the movie, it's not necessarily about the performance. So maybe she's realistically number 2 here, but I don't know, it's such a nothing role. I would be shocked if they gave her the win for this. Second most likely to win is America Ferrera in Barbie. Now, before you freak out, let me just say, number 1 in this category is so far ahead of everyone else, it really doesn't matter what order I rank 2 through 5 in. With that said, I do think Ferrera is maybe closer than a lot of people want to admit. Not that I think she's close, but the thing about Ferrera is that she has the monologue of the year. Like, her big scene is the scene that everyone who saw the movie was talking about. She kind of steals the movie, in a way, from both Robbie and Gosling. And so, there was a part of me at one time that's like, what if Ferrera just takes the whole thing? She got the See Her Award at Critics' Choice, and she gave a whole speech, and she's also, much like Jamie Lee Curtis last year, she's been the biggest cheerleader of the movie, which I think could possibly help her chances. I don't know, she's not the most established name, but she's been in stuff, mostly on TV. And so, I do think the nomination makes sense. A lot of people were doubting the nomination, but I always felt pretty confident that she was going to get on. And there are definitely going to be people who vote for her just based off the strength of the monologue. People who just don't know what to do in this category, or maybe are a little bit hesitant to vote for number one, and they're like, you know what, that Ferrera monologue pushed it right over the top. I think the one big issue is that outside of the monologue, she doesn't really get... If you look at what she does in the rest of the movie, there's a question of, is this really awards worthy? There's people who are complaining about this nomination. There's people who feel like it's going too far. Even though the movie did not do super well with other nominations, it missed for Gerwig and Robbie and for the editing, stuff that it was supposed to get on for. This was really the one quote-unquote surprise nomination that Barbie got. And so, while I do think she might place higher on a lot of ballots than some people are willing to admit, I don't think she has the passion to go straight to number one. But I wouldn't be shocked if she was number two on a lot of people's ballots. The person who is number one most likely to win is Da'Vine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. So, I talked about this way back at the beginning of the video. But when Lily Gladstone was announced that she would be going to lead actress, I was literally looking on Discord, and someone said, so who's winning supporting actress now? And someone put ... Randolph, ? And the thing is, I still remember that person saying that on Discord, and it feels like that's the mentality that we're going with. And I feel really, really bad. Da'Vine Joy Randolph, she gives a very good performance in the movie, and she gets some standout moments. And I remember watching the movie for the first time, looking at her, looking at these moments, I'm like, ooh, maybe, I think it could happen. And then when the last third of the movie happened, I feel like the movie kind of forgets about her character a little bit in the last third. And so I was like, ooh, probably not. But then she just started winning Critics Award after Critics Award, and she was like sweeping in Critics Award, and now she's got both the Globe and Critics' Choice, and it's like, this is just gonna happen. And I feel a little conflicted about this, because Da'Vine Joy Randolph, I'm sure she is a perfectly lovely person, and she's done stuff. She was in Dolomite Is My Name, she was in the Broadway version of Ghost, she's done stuff, but she's not like a huge name. For a lot of people, this is their first time really seeing her and taking notice of her, and it's a perfectly fine performance, and she gets a few little standout moments, but nothing big, nothing like the Ferrera monologue, nothing like, holy shit, we have to give this person awards. And even when you look at the speeches that she's given at Globes and Critics' Choice, all of those speeches are like written out on paper, and she's just reading them very flatly and not making eye contact with the camera. And I'm not going to sit here and say that she's not likable enough, but she's not... I feel like in most years this performance would not be winning. In most years she would be a 2 or 3, a solid performance would get nominated, but it wouldn't go far enough. And the thing is, with this year, it feels like people are just kind of settling on her because there's really nobody else. Because Ferrera, maybe, but she just has the one scene. And you can also say Emily Blunt kind of just has the one scene. Or Danielle Brooks kind of has the one song. Also, people don't like that movie. And Foster, people kind of like the movie, but not really. And just... oh god, what if it is Emily Blunt? The thing is, for Randolph as a winner does not sit right with me, even though it's a good performance, but it just kind of feels like, yeah, this is what's happening. I really don't want to be mean to her. I don't have anything against her specifically. I just feel like if Rachel McAdams were in this category for Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret, then maybe the category would look a little bit different, because that's the performance that that's the performance I would vote for out of all the nominees, out of all the contenders this year, rather. Yeah, you can tell I'm a little bit out of shape because I haven't recorded one of these in a while. But, yeah, this is a fine performance. Like, it's not as bad as the Jamie Lee Curtis win last year. I think we can just accept this as a win of, like, okay, there really wasn't anyone else. And I'm very sorry, but it looks like that's just the way it is. This is a fine performance. It'll be a fine winner. Not much more to say about that. So thank you so much for watching this, and tune in next week. Not next week. I don't do this weekly. Oh god, that'd take forever. Tune in tomorrow, where I will be taking a look at the category of Best International Feature Film. See you then. Bye.